For the teachings of the Vedas are the original knowledge. In the conditioned state, our knowledge is subjected to many deficiencies. The difference between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects. Does everyone know what those 4 defects are before I read them?
Birth, death, disease, and old age.
No.
No, it's another one.
The propensity to find fault with others is one of them.
Yeah, just say one.
Cheating propensity.
Cheating propensity.
That's right.
Someone else.
Imitate senses.
Right. Imperfect senses. Cheating propensity. You said?
Illusion.
Subject to illusion. Did someone say the 4th one? Who was it?
Oh, I'm just guessing at that.
Do you know?
I know. Come on, I'm the president. Well, because I said I'm the president and mentioned that.
The Sanskrit is Karnapatava.
I don't know the Sanskrit, but I know the English.
Imperfect senses.
No.
Someone
It's
said that?
imperfect senses, yes. See, you did it.
I have imperfect senses?
No, but you did the next one, the one that nobody knew.
Can I say?
Does anyone else know it?
The 4th one, yeah.
I know you do. Does anyone else?
Okay.
Is it mixing propensity? When we convey knowledge, we mix from something from our side?
What she should say. Nobody else should say.
We said cheating, we said subject to illusion, we said imperfect senses.
Yeah.
We didn't say the other?
Yeah.
Oh. I did that one. Anyone?
Yeah, sure.
Mistakes.
Bhakti? Yes. Commit mistakes. Pramada.
Yes.
These are, sometimes Prabhupada calls these inflictions. Just like now people are inflicted with the coronavirus. It's an imperfection. It's an infliction. It's a disturbance, actually.
We're inflicted as conditioned souls with these things.
What?
We're inflicted with this.
Yeah, these are not our natural condition. These 4 defects, they actually are disturbances. They interfere with purified life. But Prabhupada says that if one carries out the order of the spiritual master by disciplic succession in the parampara system, he can become free from these 4 defects. We'll continue. The difference between a conditioned soul and a liberated soul is that the conditioned soul has 4 kinds of defects, as we mentioned. The first defect is that he must commit mistakes. For example, in our country, speaking of India, Mahatma Gandhi was considered to be a very great personality, but he committed many mistakes. Even at the last stage of his life, his assistant warned, Mahatma Gandhi, don't go to the New Delhi meeting. I have some friends, and I have heard there is danger. But he did not hear. He persisted in going and was killed. Even great personalities like Mahatma Gandhi, President Kennedy, there are so many of them, make mistakes. To err is human. This is one defect of the conditioned soul. And Srila Prabhupada actually wrote a letter about half a year, a little less than half a year prior to Mahatma Gandhi's demise. And in the letter, Prabhupada warns Gandhi to give up his politics. Otherwise, he will meet with an unglorious end, like Hitler, Mussolini, what was the other one?
I don't know.
Churchill. Churchill?
I don't remember.
Anyway, he wrote him a letter in 1947. And maybe I can read a little bit of that letter. It's very instructive. And he addresses him, my dear friend, Mahatmaji, please accept my respectful namaskar. I won't read the whole letter, I'll just read some pertinent items. I am your unknown friend, but I had to write to you at times and again, although you never cared to reply then. He says, anyway, as I am your very old friend, although unknown to you, I am again writing to you in order to bring you to the rightful position deserved by you. As a sincere friend, I must not deviate from my duty towards a friend like your good self. But down here is where he says, you should therefore take a note of warning from your insignificant friend like me that unless you retire timely from politics and engage yourself 100% in the preaching work of Bhagavad Gita, which is the real function of the Mahatmas, you shall have to meet with such inglorious deaths as Mussolini, Hitler's, Tojo's, I don't know who that is, Churchill's, or Lloyd George's met with. He says again, 2 times he warns him in that way. He says, if you, however, remain satisfied with such temporary position only and do not try to know the absolute truth, then surely you are to fall down from the artificially exalted position under the laws of nature. But if you really want to approach the absolute truth and want to do some real good to the people in general all over the world, which shall include your ideas of unity, peace, and nonviolence, then you must give up the rotten politics immediately and rise up for the preaching work of the philosophy and religion of Bhagavad Gita without offering unnecessary and dogmatic interpretations on them. So Prabhupada was wanting Mahatma to become a real Mahatma. And what is a real Mahatma? What is it? Sadurlabha. Oh my gosh.
It's not us.
Such a great soul is very rare. After many births and deaths, one in true knowledge surrenders unto me, and he is a Mahatma. So this is, Mahatma Gandhi had the title Mahatma, but he wasn't living up to that title. And Prabhupada felt he was a good man. He even says something like, as I know that you are sincere, honest, and moralist. So Prabhupada saw good in him, but he wanted him to actually give up. And he asked him to even take a month, come and meet with me, and we can discuss Bhagavad Gita and how we can actually really help the people of the world. Mahatma Gandhi was in a position where he could do that. People would listen to him. But who knows if Mahatma Gandhi even got Prabhupada's letters. And he sent them back to Godhead articles, and I don't know if he even got them. That's Mahatma Gandhi. To err is human. Another defect, to be illusion. Illusion means to accept something which is not. Maya. Maya means what is not. Everyone is accepting the body as the self. If I ask you what you are, you will say, I am Mr. John. I am a rich man. I am this. I am that. All these are bodily identifications, but you are not this body. This is illusion. Actually, if we can think of ourselves as something that we are not, we're actually in a crazy position. Prabhupada wrote a nice little article, Who's Crazy? Because the materialists, they'll say the spiritualists are crazy or asleep to materialistic activities. They're not interested in accumulating lots of wealth, perhaps, and making up positions for themselves in the material world. And the spiritualists, they'll think the materialists are crazy because their interest is only in that which is temporary, not in that which is real, which was lasting. And so, just like the verse in Bhagavad Gita, what is night for all beings is the time for awakening for the self-control and
Self-realized.
for the self-realized soul. So who's crazy? So if we think that we are our body, something that we are not, then we're crazy. Another defect, the third defect is the cheating propensity. Everyone has a propensity to cheat others. Although a person is fool number one, he poses himself as very intelligent. Although it is already pointed out that he is in illusion and makes mistakes, he will theorize, I think this is this is that. But he does not even know his own position. He writes books of philosophy, although he is defective. That is his disease. That is his cheating. And more often than not, they're writing just to get recognition, to get some title. So they have to come up with a new theory and new names for the same old things. Lastly, our senses are imperfect. We're very proud of our eyes. Often someone will challenge, can you show me God? But do you have the eyes to see God? You will never see it. You will never see if you haven't the eyes. If immediately the room becomes dark, you cannot even see your hands. So what power do you have to see? We cannot therefore expect knowledge, Vedas, with these imperfect senses. With all these deficiencies in conditioned life, we cannot give perfect knowledge to anyone, nor are we ourselves perfect. Therefore, we accept the Vedas as they are. Like here, Prabhupada is saying that we cannot even see our own hands. Our senses are limited. So how can people think that they're going to see something beyond the senses with these imperfect senses? People say, can you see God? Can you show me God? And Prabhupada says, how can you see him with these eyes? And we all know, according to Brahma Samhita, how one can see God, and his eyes are tinged with the salve of love. Premanjana Charita Bhakti Valochinina Santasarhaiva Vidayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundara Chintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipusam Kamaham Bhajan. Only when one's eyes are tinted with this salve of love that Krishna reveals himself to one. Like it's written in the Rupa Goswami's Brahma Samhita. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. He writes, Atashi Krishna Namadi Naba Ved Paramindriya Sevan Mukehi Jivado Swayameva Spuratiyada. And he's quoting from the Padma Purana that we cannot, with these blunt material senses, we are not able to understand the name, form, qualities of Krishna, who is transcendental to this material world. Only when Krishna is pleased with us, when we've given up our upadhis, our designations, and Krishna is our sole interest, he reveals himself to that sincere devotee. That is the only way to see God, when he wants to reveal himself to us. We can't force him. We can only work in such a way that God will want to reveal himself to us. You may call the Vedas Hindu, but Hindu is a foreign name. We are not Hindus. Our real identification is Varnashram. Varnashram denotes the followers of the Vedas, those who accept the human society in 8 divisions of Varna and Ashrama. There are 4 divisions in society and 4 divisions of spiritual life. This is called Varnashrama. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita, these divisions are everywhere because they are created by God. Chaturvarnya Maya Shustam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. They're created by God, and one is recognized by each in one of these categories by his qualities and by his work. I'm surprised here Prabhupada doesn't mention Sanatan Dharma.
You just did.
No, Varnashram.
Oh,
I thought he'd say Sanatan Dharma.
I was talking to new people who don't know anything.
Right. Mhm. The divisions of society are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Sudra. Brahmanas refer to the very intelligent class of men, those who know what is Brahman. Similarly, the Kshatriyas, the administrator group, are the next intelligent class of men. Then the Vaishyas, the mercantile group, these natural classifications are found everywhere. This is the Vedic principle, and we accept it. Just like one might not, now people see it as the caste system, and they're down on it. I mean, it has become something less desirable, but originally it was meant so people could engage their natural propensities and elevate themselves gradually to higher stages of life and become God conscious and go back to Godhead. Originally, that is what it's for, because naturally people will lean towards a leadership role, a worker role, protecting role. They naturally want to protect, to lead. There'll be those who like to give advice and help others. Those who are situated more in the mode of goodness, be Brahminical in their activities and character. It's natural. But unfortunately, in the age of Kali, everyone is born a Shudra, it says. And therefore, Prabhupada was trying to create a Brahminical class and gradually help us to become in the mode of goodness. What?
They don't like the caste system because it's by birth.
Right. The caste system became recognized just by birth. But according to Bhagavad Gita, it's by quality and work. But one is forced to act in a way that is not conducive to his nature, then is not going to be happy and he'll cause a chaotic situation in society. So it is better if one acts according to his nature. Then he'll be peaceful in mind and won't cause uproar or upheaval in society and be able to work peacefully and harmoniously with others. Does anyone have any question or comments thus far? It's pretty straightforward and simple, this introduction.
I was going to say, can we add a bad memory to the 4 defects? What were those 4 defects again?
The 4 defects are we commit mistakes, we have imperfect senses, we're subject to illusion, and we have a cheating propensity.
Thank you.
Mataji, once you recognize that you have all 4 of them, how to rectify them or get over them?
Well, like Prabhupada said, by serving the spiritual master, by following his instructions, a bona fide spiritual master who's coming in disciplic succession from the Supreme Lord himself. By following his instructions, one can become free from those 4 defects. He rises above it. That's what he says.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yep.
Jiva, I have a question.
All right.
This is Radha Raman.
Yes.
In the Christian tradition, and maybe others, there's a concept of original sin, which is kind of inherited sin for the human species, stemming from the fall in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, that story. So anyway, the idea is that we're all born with some kind of original sin that needs to be taken away by baptism. But it's not the individual's doing. He's inherited, given he's a Jiva soul or he's of that species. So I'm wondering, with the Krishna consciousness philosophy, are these defects, are any of the defects kind of a group defect by virtue of being a Jiva soul, or are they all defects that we've brought upon ourselves by being conditioned.
Hmm.
And it's kind of convoluted. I don't know if you understand.
I would have to say that it stems from lust, the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Our love for Krishna is transferred into lust. And we have this perverted mentality of trying to enjoy and control, which is not a natural position for us. And therefore, we're trying to apply in an imperfect world. It's a reflection. So perfection is not going to be there. Like in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, everything appears to be there, but it's not in its perfect state. So in our natural state, we don't commit mistakes because we're identifying with something that we're not. We're trying to act through something that we're not.
So these defects.
We have that mentality and that attachment. It won't be perfect. It won't always be perfect. There'll be mistakes. We can commit, we can fall down. We're subject to illusion. But once you act on the transcendental platform, when your love for Krishna is awakened, you're not acting for your own sense pleasure. You know what I mean? It's out of love, and it's perfect. Even if looks like there might be mistakes, there's no karma, no reaction. Whereas with committing mistakes and these things, there's karma reaction, there's karma. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, would you say then that the defects that we've been talking about, they're not inherent in a Jiva soul? They're actually foreign. They're foreign to a Jiva soul.
Yes.
And because we've become conditioned because of lust and so forth, we now have these propensities.
Yes.
But once we realize our position and become purified, we won't have these propensities anymore.
Yes.
Or they'll be under control, these defects.
Just like when you get an illness, it's a foreign nature, and then you're sick. We're in a sick condition. That's my understanding.
Okay, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. May I have permission about the craziness?
Yeah.
One time one Mataji, she visited to mental hospital, and when she went to the mental hospital, they were acting like this person is like that president or that president, and then they were acting, and then after that, when she came, and then she was saying our condition is also the same way because they are mentally sick. That's why they are acting. But we are also having in the false prestige, due to the false prestige and craziness, we are also having a kind of upadhi, and that's why we are acting accordingly. So that is our craziness, to dominate over others.
Yeah, it's a concept. That our mind has, a false conception. Whether we think we're this or that, it's craziness. Man, woman, black, white, Yeah. Who's crazy?
Mataji, Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, you said we are not controller. You said that we are not controller.
We're not the supreme controller. We're tiny controllers. I mean,
Okay.
Right? Kshetragya, all that. Shall we read more? Okay, where did I leave off? Similar, the Kshatriyas, the administrative group, are the next intelligent class of men, and the Vaishyas, the mercantile group. These natural classifications are found everywhere. This is the Vedic principle, and we accept it. Vedic principles are accepted as axiomatic truth, for there cannot be any mistake. That is acceptance. For instance, in India, cow dung is accepted as pure, and yet cow dung is the stool of an animal. In one place, you'll find the Vedic injunction that if you touch stool, you have to take a bath immediately. But in another place, it is said that the stool of a cow is pure. If you smear cow dung in an impure place, that place becomes pure. With our ordinary sense, we can argue this is contradictory. Actually, it is contradictory from the ordinary point of view, but it is not false. In fact, in Calcutta, a very prominent scientist and doctor analyzed cow dung and found that it contains all antiseptic properties. I remember Kurma Rupa, who started the Care for Cows. I was talking to him, and he told me that they used it for cleaning the cow dung. They use it for fertilizer, and they also used it for repellent to keep insects away. They would water it down and spray the plants, and it would keep the plants healthy. In India, if one person tells another, you must do this, the other party may say, what do you mean? Is this a Vedic injunction that I have to follow you without any argument? Vedic injunctions cannot be interpreted. But ultimately, if you carefully study why these injunctions are there, you will find they are all correct. The Vedas are not compilations of human knowledge. Vedic knowledge comes from the spiritual world, from Lord Krishna. Another name for the Vedas is Shruti. Shruti refers to that knowledge which is acquired by hearing. It is not experimental knowledge. Shruti is considered to be like a mother. We take so much knowledge from our mother. For example, if you want to know who your father is, you can answer, who can answer you? Your mother. If the mother says, here is your father, you have to accept it. It is not possible to experiment to find out whether he is your father. Similarly, if you want to know something beyond your experience, beyond your experimental knowledge, beyond the activities of the senses, then you have to accept the Vedas. There is no question of experimenting. It has already been experimented. It is already settled. The version of the mother, for instance, has to be accepted as truth. There is no other way. Because if we experiment with our imperfect senses, there's no guarantee we'll get a proper answer. So therefore, we have to accept something perfect from a perfect source. So it says here, Shruti is coming from Lord Krishna himself. And he speaks this, Shruti, the Vedas, to Lord Brahma, for example, and Lord Brahma to Narada, and it comes down into cyclic succession, unchanged. And this is therefore is perfect knowledge, because it's coming from the perfect source. But if we accept knowledge from, like modern scientists, oftentimes they speculate. They may have a good hypothesis, but there is some imperfection involved because they're speculating, experimenting with imperfect senses, and therefore we see oftentimes the results are changing. They get contradictory results, or later they discover that this is not so, that it's better that you don't do this, or we find it's changing all the time. But the Vedas are constant. Cow dung has always been pure. It's pure. The Vedas are considered to be the mother. We have so many mothers. We have 7 that list, but here also, the Vedas are also considered our mother. And that's also Radharani. She's known as Mother Hara. She's our mother. The Vedas are considered to be the mother, and Brahma is called the grandfather, the fourth father, because he was the first to be instructed in the Vedic knowledge. In the beginning, the first living creature was Brahma. He received this Vedic knowledge and imparted it to Narada and other disciples and sons, and they also distributed to their disciples. In this way, the Vedic knowledge comes down by disciplic succession. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita that Vedic knowledge is understood in that way. Evam parampara praptam imam rajar shayo vidu. I imparted this knowledge to Vivaswan. He imparted it to Ikshvaku to Manu. Therefore, it comes down in disciplic succession. If you make experimental endeavor, you come to the same conclusion. But just to save time, you should accept. Just like my husband gave the example the other day of Jadharani. She asked Srila Prabhupada when she was doing a painting of Super Soul, because we hear about Super Soul sitting in the heart. And so she asked Prabhupada, is he sitting or is he standing? And Prabhupada in a moment said, he's standing. And he also told her, I saved you 1,000 years of meditation. It takes the yogis thousands of years to meditate, to realize Lord Vishnu in their heart. But here we can receive the same message in a moment, in disciplic succession from a bona fide source. If you want to know who your father is, and if you accept your mother as an authority, then whatever she says can be accepted without argument. There are three kinds of evidence: Pratyaksha, Hanuman, and Shabda. Pratyaksha means direct evidence. Direct evidence is not very good because our senses are not perfect. We are seeing the sun daily, and it appears to us just like a small disk, but it is actually far, far larger than many planets. But what value is this seeing? Therefore, we have to read books. Then we can understand about the sun. So direct experience is not perfect. Then there is Anuman, inductive knowledge. It may be like this, hypothesis. For instance, Darwin's theory says it may be like this, it may be like that, but that is not science. That is a suggestion, and it is also not perfect. One thing about Darwin and the theory of evolution, I remember reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam, somewhere in the first canto in one of the purports, Srila Prabhupada is talking about different munis and sages, and he mentions Bhrigu Muni. Now, Bhrigu Muni actually was considered a son of Brahma. He appeared from a sacrifice that Brahma was performing on behalf of Varuna. But Bhrigu became a very great scientist, anthropologist, and he spoke on evolution long before Darwin spoke on evolution. And of course, we know that evolution is spiritual evolution. We spiritually evolve, not physically. Let's see. That is suggestion, and it is also not perfect. But if you receive the knowledge from authoritative sources, that is perfect. If you receive a program guide from the radio station authorities, you accept it. You don't deny it. You don't have to make an experiment because it is received from the authoritative sources. Vedic knowledge is called Shabda Pramana. Another name is Shruti. Shruti means that this knowledge has to be received simply by oral reception. The Vedas instruct that in order to understand transcendental knowledge, we have to hear from authority. Transcendental knowledge is knowledge from beyond this universe. Within this universe is material knowledge, and beyond this universe is transcendental knowledge. We cannot even go to the end of the universe. So how can we go to the spiritual world? Thus, to acquire full knowledge is impossible. There is a spiritual sky. There is another nature, which is beyond manifestation and non-manifestation. But how will you know that there is a sky where the planets and inhabitants are eternal? How can we know with our material senses? All this knowledge is there, but how will you make experiments? It is not possible. Therefore, you have to take the assistance of the Vedas. This is called Vedic knowledge. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. I am speaking first of the two classes of transcendentalists. First of all, one thing. The only way we know of a spiritual sky is from the Shastras, the Guru, and the Sadhus. They all tell us of this world that is beyond our mundane purview, what we see here. And it begins with faith. And by this faith, we associate with devotees. We follow some process. This is the Shraddha, Ado Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha. The faith becomes stronger. And ultimately, Krishna will reveal these things to us. Once our faith develops stronger, our love for Krishna awakens, we awaken to our natural position, it all will be revealed to us. And this is the only way that we can understand is when it's revealed to us, because we don't have the proper facility, just like we can't fly up, to outer space and just keep on going, to the spiritual world. We can't build that stairway to heaven. So we have to accept the authority of the Vedas, the scriptures, and follow the rules that they have set because they are perfect, and their rules and regulations are meant for our upliftment and for our good and the good of the world. And by following these, we will gradually become elevated to a proper state of understanding who we are, who Krishna is, and our relationship with him, and how to act in that relationship. It'll all be revealed. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we are accepting knowledge from the highest authority, Krishna. Krishna is accepted as the highest authority by all classes of men. I am speaking first of the two classes of transcendentalists. One class of transcendentalists is called impersonalistic, Mayavadi. They are generally known as Vedantists, led by Shankaracharya. And there is another class of transcendentalists called Vaishnavas, like Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Vishnu Swami. Both the Shankar Sampradaya and the Vaishnava Sampradaya have accepted Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Shankaracharya is supposed to be an impersonalist who preached impersonalism, impersonal Brahman, but it is a fact that he is a covered personalist. He's a closet personalist. In his commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote, Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is beyond the cosmic manifestation. And then again he confirmed that Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, is Krishna. He has come as the son of Devaki and Vasudeva. He particularly mentioned the names of his father and mother. So Krishna is accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by all transcendentalists. There's no doubt about it. Our source of knowledge in Krishna consciousness is the Bhagavad Gita, which comes directly from Krishna. So it is a special type of Shruti. Shruti is directly from Krishna, spoken by Krishna. We have published Bhagavad Gita as it is because we accept Krishna as he is speaking without any interpretation. Prabhupada has said before that there have been so many other Bhagavad Gitas coming out, but has it changed anyone's life? Has there been any effect from these Bhagavad Gitas? That's why he put Bhagavad Gita as it is, because it's directly what Krishna is saying. He's not Prabhupada wasn't interpreting it to gain something or to give some particular message. He wanted to give Krishna's message, what Krishna is trying to tell the whole world. That is Vedic knowledge. Since the Vedic knowledge is pure, we accept it. Whatever Krishna says, we accept it. On one of the daily calendar messages of Prabhupada's, he says, whatever Krishna says, that is good. Everything else is bad. Bus. That's it. That saves much time. If you accept the right authority or source of knowledge, then you save much time. For example, there are two systems of knowledge in the material world, inductive and deductive. From deductive, you accept that man is mortal. Your father says man is mortal. Your sister says man is mortal. Everyone says man is mortal, but you do not experiment. You accept it as a fact that man is mortal. If you want to research to find out whether man is mortal, you have to study each and every man. And you may come to think that there may be some man who is not dying, but you have not seen him yet. So in this way, your research will never be finished because you will die before you get a chance to find out if there's anyone who's not dying. In Sanskrit, this process is called aroha, the ascending process. If you want to attain knowledge by any personal endeavor, by exercising your imperfect senses, you will never come to the right conclusions. That is not possible. Because our senses are imperfect, we're bound to make some mistake unless we accept the perfect knowledge from the perfect source. It's the only way. There is a statement in the Brahma Samhita, just ride on the airplane which runs at the speed of mind. Our material airplanes can run 2,000 miles per hour, but what is the speed of mind? You are sitting at home, you immediately think of India, say 10,000 miles away, and at once it is in your home. Your mind has gone there. The mind speed is so swift. Therefore, it is stated, if you travel at the speed of 1,000,000 years, you'll find that the spiritual sky is unlimited. That verse from the Brahma Samhita is Pantastu koti satavatsar sambragamyo vayoratapi manso munipungavanam sopyasti yaprapadasim yavachinchitatve govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That's Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, text 34. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord. Only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayama by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years. Even if we travel by the speed of mind, still, it's beyond our reach. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one must approach, the word compulsory is used, a bona fide spiritual master, a guru. Tadvidi pranipatina pariprasna sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tatvadarshana. One must approach a bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession, render service unto him, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul shall impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. That's his qualification. He has seen the truth. Sorry. And what is the qualification of a spiritual master? He is one who has rightly heard the Vedic message from the right source. And he must practically be firmly established in Brahman. He knows the truth. These are the two qualifications he must have. Otherwise, he is not bona fide. So he's rightly heard, he has jnana, but he also has vijnana. In one of the purports of the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that book knowledge without realization is useless. Knowledge, theoretical knowledge is fine up to a certain point, but that knowledge is meant to become vijnana. We're meant to realize and digest, take this knowledge in and digest it and be able to act on it. If we realize it, it'll become part of our life. It'll be part of our being, and we'll be able to act on it. That's vijnana, realized knowledge. And that's what this knowledge is meant to be, not just theory, but we're meant to apply it. And that's the difference, like Prabhupada said with his Bhagavad Gita. There was a change in people after they read Prabhupada's words, Prabhupada's purports of what Lord Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita. There was a change in their life. They wanted to learn more. They wanted to act on it. This Krishna consciousness movement is completely authorized from Vedic principles. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, the actual aim of Vedic research is to find out Krishna. Vedanta vid, eva vid, eva chaham. What is that? Vedanta vid, veda vid, eva chaham. He's the source of the Vedas. He's the goal of the Vedas. The aim of the Vedas is to know Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, it is also stated, Krishna, Govinda, has innumerable forms, but they are all one. Ramari Murti Shukalani Amena Tishtana Avatara Makaro Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Parama Pumanyo Govinda Mari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. There's many forms, Ram, Shringa, Varaha, but they're all one. They're all coming from Krishna. They are not like our forms, which are fallible. His form is infallible. My form has a beginning, but his form has no beginning. It is Ananta. And his form, so many multiforms, has no end. My form is sitting here and not in my apartment. You are sitting there and not in your apartment. But Krishna can be everywhere at one time. He can sit down in Goloka Vrindavan, and at the same time, he is everywhere, all pervading. He is original, the oldest. But whenever you look at a picture of Krishna, you'll find a young boy, 15 or 20 years old. You will never find an old man. You have seen pictures of Krishna as a charioteer from Bhagavad Gita. He's always young. Nava Yovanam Cha. Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Nadiradir Govinda Sarvakarna Karnam. He has an eternal, youthful body full of bliss and knowledge. He is Govinda, Krishna. At the time when he was a charioteer on the battlefield, he was not less than 100 years old. I heard he was 125 years old. And he had great-grandchildren. But he looked like just a young boy of 16 years old. God never becomes old. Like some people picture God sitting on a throne and very old because he's the oldest of all, like with the big beard and just very old because he's the oldest of all. But if he's God, he can appear as a fresh young youth. Why should he grow old? Youth is the prime of life. You say it's the best time when, even for in the mundane realm, youth, one's senses are at their highest when one is in their youthful age. And one is like 15, 16 years old. One is most attractive. One is most energy. So, and this is why it all stems from, it's a reflection, from the spiritual world, from Krishna. That is his supreme power. And if you want to search out Krishna by studying the Vedic literature, then you will be baffled. Just like our growing old, it's a reminder that we're not from here. We look in the mirror. When you're young, you don't think as much about how you're going to have to die. But when you get older, you're getting close to when you're going to have to die. So it's a good reminder that you get these wrinkles and these gray hairs, to help remind us that we should prepare. We should actually start looking deeper within and questioning, who am I, why am I here? What am I meant to do while I'm here? Where do I want to go? Because the end is right around the corner. Death comes like a thief in the night. I think that's a biblical saying. When you least expect it. Even like with this coronavirus, we're getting so many warnings, with the disease, there's so much, it's all around us. We're walking in the valley of death. But if one is of the stature of a pure devotee, even though he's walking in the valley of death, he will fear no evil. Because he has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. Abhaya Charanadavinda. Srila Prabhupada has become fearless, having taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. If you want to search out Krishna by studying the Vedic literature, then you will become baffled if you try on your own. It may be possible, but it'll be very difficult and it'll take a very long time. But you can very easily learn about him from his devotee, because the devotee, he lives for Krishna. His everything is Krishna. He breathes for Krishna. So if you want to learn about Krishna, you're going to go to someone who loves Krishna the most, who's always thinking about Krishna, who has nothing but Krishna. Prabhupada said, one who you want to find out about Krishna, you go to find someone who's mad after Krishna. And then you can learn about Krishna. His devotee can deliver him to you. Here he is, take him. That is the potency of Krishna's devotee. And he's anxious to give Krishna to others because he knows that Krishna wants the living entity to come back to Krishna. Krishna is so kind that he accompanies every one of us throughout our millions of births, sitting in our heart, like that tree. There's an analogy in the Bhagavad Gita where there's two birds sitting on the tree. One is the enjoying bird, one trying to enjoy the fruits of that tree. And the other one is the witnessing bird. And that witnessing bird is just waiting for this other bird to turn to his friend who's been with him since time immemorial, who doesn't want to leave him. He's just waiting for him to turn because he knows that will make the bird happy. He's trying to enjoy outside of his natural realm of enjoyment. But if he turns to his friend, he'll remember, oh yes, that's where real enjoyment is. And he won't even think of his own enjoyment. He'll think, oh, such a beautiful bird. I want to make that bird happy. And automatically he'll be happy by making the other bird happy. Krishna is so kind. He's our best friend. That's part of the peace formula. By Bhaktaram Yagyatapasam, by realizing Krishna as the supreme controller, enjoyer, and friend of every living entity. That's the only way we can really find peace in an unpeaceful world. Originally, there was only one Veda, and there was no necessity of reading it. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. It was Shrutidar. They could just hear, and it was theirs. Their brains were so, they had good brains. Kali Yuga, we have poor fundamental knowledge. We have small, weak brains. Our brains are tied up in other things. Sense enjoyment. People were so intelligent and had such sharp memories that by once hearing from the lips of the spiritual master, they would understand. They would immediately grasp the full purport. But 5,000 years ago, and that's how we also get Shruti. The Shruti comes from Krishna. And Krishna gives it to like Brahma, sages. They hear the Shruti and then they digest it, they contemplate, they realize it, and they, by this, they deliver Shruti, memory, from memory. They would really grasp the whole purport. But 5,000 years ago, Vyasadeva put the Vedas in writing for people in this age, Kali Yuga, which Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagya Hupodrucha. In this age of Kali, men have short lives. They're quarrelsome, lazy, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Misguided, unlucky, and always disturbed. Our lives in Kali Yuga, we're not meant for performing long, laborious sacrifices or many years of meditation or elaborate deity worship. But simply by chanting Hare Krishna, we can achieve the results of all these things. This is the merciful age of Kali Yuga. Lord Chaitanya has appeared. Krishna has come himself as Lord Chaitanya to bring what no incarnation has ever offered before, the highest mellows of love for Godhead. And it can all be achieved simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, as Lord Chaitanya showed himself. He was the exemplar incarnation. He incarnated in the form of a devotee to show us how in this iron age of Kali to transcend, to become spiritualized, and go back home, back to Godhead. I think I've passed the time. I wasn't watching the time. I'm sorry. If anyone has any comments or questions. There was a lot of reading, and we thought we were going to read the whole introduction. We didn't have time. I'm sorry. Any comments, questions?
Mataji, I have one question. We always talk about traveling with the speed of month, and we can reach very fast anywhere compared to the physical body, etc. But isn't it that depends upon our imperfect senses? Because we cannot travel to a place where I have never been before. Okay? Because or I have never heard about that place. So it's just imagination, right? So it's an imagination. We say that we can travel to India within a second, but I cannot feel India unless I have been to India before, or I have seen some pictures of India, how it looks like, or something. So isn't this something?
Well, there are subtle sciences that yogis become perfected in. Anima, Lagima, Prapti. These cities, by many years of austerities and practices, they're able to go down in one river and up another. And it's a subtle practice, with the mind, but for the commoner, it is a type of just speculation, travel by mind. Because I've been there, I can think of that place. I can go there, like Vrindavan. Having once been, one never returns. Well, if you visited Vrindavan, you can think of Vrindavan and go there and go on pilgrimage in your mind. You can actually get benefit from doing things like that. But yes, it's limited.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. Yeah. So for common people, it's limited to their senses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for those uncommon people, it's possible.
Okay.
I know. I wasn't watching time. Sorry. Anything else? Are people missing their Vishnu Sahasranam
Yes.
chanting? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Jivama.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for wonderful reading and then explanation with everything. You made us connected to Prabhupada and, with his lecture in London Hall and then with the Brahma Samhita, everything very wonderful class. Hope to hear more from you.
You're very kind and merciful and generous in your let me figure the word. So imperfect senses.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
We're gonna always think of those 4 imperfections that are inflictions.
Thank you once again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.
Grace Mataji.
Jai Jai.
Jiva Mataji ki jai.
Just that. Vancha kalpa.
Haribol. See you later. Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha.
People sing
Sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anatakundi Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Jiva